Hi friends, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a very different video. I wanted to do one more creepy Christmas video for you so we can rein in Christmas together. And I thought this would be a really fun idea. Today I'm going to read you two of my favorite Christmas creepypastas. I will link them down below as well. A huge thank you to Michael Page and Nora Redding for these amazing pieces of work. I'm by no means a storyteller or a narration channel. I know I don't have the voice for it. Don't worry, I'm not kidding myself, but I really wanted to give this a go and I really enjoy when people read creepy stories. So put on some headphones, light a candle or a fireplace, and dim the lights because it's about to get spooky as I read you two of my favorite creepypastas. Let's begin. Candle Burns, written by Nora Redding. Warning, there are flashing lights during this story. It's a pretty universally known truth that having rich neighbors sucks. When I say rich, I mean Jeff Bezos probably sent these guys handwritten birthday cards along with the rest of his billionaire friends. That's how much money they were sitting on. But what sucks so much infinitely more than having rich neighbors is having rich neighbors at Christmas time. I could attempt to describe the luminous monstrosity that my neighbor's mansion transformed into during the holidays for entire lifespans. But to save time, just imagine the song Friday by Rebecca Black gained physical form, incredibly annoying and impossible to ignore, and causing significant pain to all who come in contact. That's the best analogy I've got for the billions of flashing rainbow-colored Christmas lights draped over every foot-high shrub on their expensively landscaped front lawn, along with their gargantuan inflatable Frosty the Snowman, to say nothing of the same Mariah Carey songs they blast at supersonic levels 24/7. Think permanent retinal and eardrum damage. You get the gist. Every year, every single year, I have to grit my teeth and live within 200 feet of this crime against humanity. And if the music, the lights, and the infuriating gritty Frosty weren't enough, the vast jingling eyesore attracted the attention of every middle-income citizen with too much free time in an 1,000-mile radius, which meant that my neighborhood was a tourist attraction from mid-December to the end of February. If I had $1 for every furious platinum blonde mum of 3 kids that laid down on her horn when I tried to leave my driveway, I could probably compete financially with the fanatics next door. I'm not Ebenezer Scrooge, I promise. I am, however, someone who can't sleep without pitch blackness, and my new extra thick blackout curtains haven't arrived yet. The fact that I was constantly sleep deprived, working extra shifts at my job to keep up with the holiday rush and surviving mostly on instant ramen probably played more of a part in the events that took place than I'm ready to admit. But maybe you can be the judge of that. It was Christmas Eve, a dry, charcoal-colored Christmas Eve. Snowflakes the size of my thumbprint drifted like ash in the stillness. The ear-splitting speakers, partially hidden behind light-choked pine trees, were silent for once. I hoped someone braver than me had come up and bashed them with a sledgehammer. The green digital clock read 2:42, flickering slightly as usual. Insomnia had grabbed my sleep schedule by the throat and squeezed. Work tomorrow was gonna suck. When I found myself awake at hours like this, I often ended up drifting towards the window facing the eyesore manor, just to stare, see, envision throwing yards of Christmas lights into the hot tub while my neighbors were using it. From this particular spot, I had the perfect vantage point to discover that on top of the seizure-inducing light show, the millionaires next door had also placed an electric candle in every one of their windows this year, and the one sitting in their attic flickered. I can't explain why this bothered me as much as it did. Maybe it's because I knew they could buy 8 billion replacement candles and then the ownership of the candle company. Maybe because the flicker was so annoyingly erratic and I could have sworn on my life that it only started up when I was there to see it. Maybe because the attic was barely more than a crawl space made only for storage, but it made zero sense to put a candle there in the first place. Whatever deep psychological cause, all I knew is that I was watching it and it made me me itch to commit first-degree homicide. You know when they say eat the rich? Yeah, well, that's what this stupid candle made me want to do. A friend of mine was in town staying with me, and it turned out sleep wasn't on the cards for either of us. This friend was one of those unfathomable people who you think you know, and then they casually mention something that completely resets everything you assumed about them. I found out this way that she served in Iraq, that she'd been on America's Got Talent, and that she was directly related to Danny DeVito. We sat by the window in general, she didn't talk much, or else these important facts would have likely come to light way sooner. For this reason, I didn't think anything really of it when she kept dead silent as we sat in front of the window, and I rambled about the candle in a tangential way that's only achievable via alcohol or 2 in the morning. I said to her, I don't know, man, it makes me want to punch something. I can handle everything else. I mean, it's not my electricity bill, but the stupid candle, it flickers. It's not flickering, she said. There was a dead weight in her voice that made my voice falter immediately. What? That's Morse code, she said. I opened my mouth to say something, but she had already stood up from her seat. Her sharp footsteps struck my floors as my mind reeled. Morse? I looked back at the crawl space in the attic, at the candle, still spluttering from dark to light, and my gut churned. Morse code. The brisk voice of a 911 operator on speakerphone from the kitchen registered vaguely in my mind, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from the window. It was far away and my vision sucks, but when I looked close, was that the silhouette of a finger passing over the light when it went dark again? No, that couldn't possibly be right. But now I looked more closely, and what I assumed were black curtains hanging over the little window looked to be something more solid. Plywood, maybe. Like it was hiding something that may object to it being hidden. I felt sick. The police came in a dizzy rush of lights and sounds. Unsurprisingly fast, no one ever ignored my friend. The reds and blues on top of their cars blurred with the flashing rainbow of the neighbor's house. And still, all I could feel was numb. The sirens, the shouts, the moving bodies fractured and bleeding before my eyes, all faded to black eventually. My best guess is I passed out. I swear I've read the reports 100 times. 3 victims, 1 adult and 2 minors found chained to the wall. The neighbors were charged with abduction, imprisonment, and first-degree homicide in 2 cases. There was 1 survivor who declined to speak with me or my friend. Other details included small, non-fatal cuts over the arms and legs of all 3 victims, suggesting torture to the police. The official cause of death was listed in both cases as starvation. The prisoner closest to the attic window, one of the non-survivors, was found with severe 3rd-degree burns on his hand, in which the investigation didn't officially state a cause for, but I know that that man stretched to the limit to see my dark silhouette in the opposite window. I know that he passed his hand over the overheated electric candle again and again, knowing that it was me watching. I know I did nothing. What I don't know is what he was thinking, what he was feeling. I asked my friend, though, what his Morse code translated to. She hesitated before telling me. Drawing dots and dashes on a piece of printer paper, P-L-E-A-S-E. Please. It wasn't a reindeer, written by Michael Page. Christ, I muttered to myself as the first flakes of snow started to fall. They gathered in fuzzy clumps over the windshield before my wipers cleared them away. I've been waiting for 20 minutes now in my sister's driveway. Had I chosen to wait inside with her, I'd been dead now thanks to her 2 grey cats. Cute little devils, but murdered to my sinuses. Puffy eyes and a clogged up throat, that's just what I needed. Every Christmas, our family made the annual trip to my grandparents' cabin. tucked away in the woods of Hope, Alaska, and I'd hoped to beat the heavy snowfall that was forecast. Since my sister's license was suspended from a DUI, here I was, a hostage to time, with my finger tapping anxiously on the steering wheel. My mother had asked me to be the one to grab my sister, and I had honestly dreaded it from the start. It wasn't that we hated each other, we just weren't as close anymore. After decades of constant arguments and bitter disagreements, we became distant and our relationship fizzled. Yes, we were siblings, but I felt it was more accurate to call us the residue of what siblings once were. Finally, like the gates of Valhalla, her front door opened and out she came. Her hair was forest green. The last time I saw her, it had been white, and the time before that, it was violet. Got everything? I asked as she clambered her way into the passenger seat. Mm-hmm, she responded and adjusted her glasses and stuffed a few bags in the back seat. And just like that, we were off. Hope was about a 30-minute drive, and it didn't take long for the awkward silence to inflate between us. It didn't help that the radio doesn't work in my car and that the broken auxiliary port made your music sound like it was having a seizure. By the time we reached the turnoff for Hope Highway, the road was turning into a thick white sheet. Thankfully, on Christmas Eve night, the long stretch to Hope's small community was quick and vacant. The cabin was tucked away in a fortress of trees 5 miles off the main road. As I made the turn, my sister cracked the window, pulled out a blunt, and lit it with her lighter. "Want a hit?" she asked. "Snow crushed beneath us." "Not while I'm driving," I said. "It's a straight path. We're practically there already." She took a drag and blew it out the window. "I just want to focus on this, all right?" I replied. She huffed and pushed her glasses. "If you're that worried, maybe slow down a bit then." There was the jab, a piece of bait to lure me into having another fight, but I wasn't going to bite, not this time. She could live with us getting there faster. The drive was almost over, and I'd soon be in a warm living room with my feet up, a spiked eggnog in my hand, and Bobby Helms' Jingle Bell Rock in the air. I could hear Uncle Jed spouting off one of his crude jokes. "Why does Santa Claus have such a big—" "Dude!" my sister shrieked, jabbing a finger in my side while whipping my mind back to the windshield. The car had just finished winding around a thick trail, and the large body of a reindeer stood in our path. Eyes wide open and blank, it didn't move as the high beams found it. Snapped into a panic, I twisted the wheel in a desperate swerve. The car veered greasily to the side of a fine spray of slosh. The reindeer, also known as a caribou, remained still, not even as the bumper soared inches from its nose. We came to a crushing halt off the main path. "Jesus," I sighed, blessing with relief. "Did we hit it?" "No," my sister said, leaning out the window to check while exhaling another plume of smoke. I wound the steering wheel back and around and pressed on the gas. The wheels shrilled in place, kicking up globs of sleet but not moving an inch. "Perfect," I moaned, and unfolded myself from the seat to check it out. The 2 front tires were caked in black slush and practically swallowed a mound of snow. I kicked at it, trying to clear off the icy debris from the treads and beneath the wheel well. When that tired me out, I resorted to scraping it off with my fingers. "Screw off, Prancer," I heard my sister call towards the dark silhouette of the reindeer, its antlers like gnarled fingers stretching for the treetops. She then made a sort of yip, followed by a "what the fuck?" I looked up from the scrim of snow. The reindeer was now standing tall on both of its hind legs. It looked strange, like a silly caricature you'd see in a child's book. But out there, in the silence of the woods, it was a creepy image. The way its vague shape stood on 2 legs held an almost human-like balance. For whatever reason, I realized then it didn't have a tail. Its muscular neck craned from the side and let out a ululating scream, a miserable squeal of metal grinding against metal. My legs were like ice sculptures cementing me to the spot as the shriek quieted to a succession of wet grunts. The reindeer dropped down to its original posture and stomped heavily. Puffs of white vapor and strings of snot vented from its nostrils. I was no hunter, but it did not take a lot to tell when a pissed off animal was about to charge. I leapt for the driver's seat, pulled the door open, and slammed it shut just as the muffled thud of the hooves reached me. Antlers scraped the door as its large body practically flew over the pouch that I had just been standing in. My sister screamed as the large bulk of its frame wound back around and charged again, this time shattering the headlights and submerging us in darkness. "Just go already," my sister hollered in my ear. "I'm trying, goddammit," I hissed. The wheels continued to spin, helplessly. We were trapped. The creature charged again, this time nailing the window. A cobweb of cracks bloomed near my sister's ear. I searched for anything, literally anything that I could use as a weapon. I was never really a gun enthusiast, but at that moment I'd have shaved my head, joined the secular monks, if it had meant having a Glock in my hand then and there. After rattling the car once more, the reindeer finally appeared to lose interest and disappeared amidst the clutter of trees. Granted some time to breathe and think, we phoned our dad and told him about the situation. He was going to come down, pick us up, and get us unstuck and out of this mess. I looked over at my sister, who was taking long and steady breaths between her fingers. "Are you alright?" I asked. "What do you think?" she grumbled. "I told you to slow down." Another jab, and this time I wasn't going to have it. "You want to be useful?" I yelled. "Get out there and push! No? Then shut the hell up. I don't need it right now." She said nothing, and neither did I, returning once again to the pocket of silence that our relationship succumbed to. The sooner our dad's headlights peaked in the distance, the better. Suddenly she rolled her window down. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Shh." She pursed her lips. "Just listen." Humoring her, I waited, and sure enough, the sound reached me too. The quiet voice of a little girl coming from outside.
"Please help me. I'm lost."
My sister unlocked the door and motioned to open it. I grabbed her wrist. "What are you doing?" she snapped. "There's someone out there." "Wait a second. It's weird, isn't it?" I said. The voice continued to whine and choke between sobs, pleading for anyone to help her. I didn't like the way it sounded. The same lasting drawl in between words, the same weeping sounds, like someone was hitting repeat on a speaker. Something was not right, and my instincts were hoisting red flags left and right. My sister looked at me, and her expression was warped into shock. She flung back, pinning both shoulders against the interior. Things that sounded like words bubbled up, but couldn't quite make it out of her throat. I turned around and saw what was looking at me. It was the face of a man, surrounded by molted fur on a caribou's body. The skin was a mummified brown color, wound tightly around its long skull like old crinkled leather. Snowflakes landed upon its wide, expressionless eyes and melted into the dark membranes of its pupils. It circled the car, bobbling its antlers and fogging up the windows as it peered inside. My heart shook the walls of my throat. I locked eyes with my sister, unable to say anything behind the sheer disbelief. I should have grabbed my phone, snapped a photo, recorded a video, anything, but my thoughts were jangled. It then let out that same horrible scream, but I didn't see its tight, contorted lips open. The sound was coming from its neck. Small, fleshy orifices flapping open like mouths were converting the high-pitched shrill into a mimicked cry of a little girl.
"Help me, I'm lost, help me."
Headlights glazed the area. My father's pickup came into view, paving its way down the path. The reindeer, or whatever the fuck it was, ran off, vanishing again into the snow-covered thicket. Nobody believed us. Why would they? If anyone had told me that story, I would have assumed that they were hopped up on some crazy psychedelic. But the reality of what I saw was cold, and it's something that to this day I can't fully swallow. Instead of sleeping that night, my sister and I did some research that led us to the myth of skinwalkers. Beings of some sort capable of mimicking voices and disguising themselves as animals to lure people into the woods. After reading other accounts, there wasn't a doubt in my mind. That was what we witnessed out there. Every so often that night, I'd stare out the window, wondering if I'd see that leathery face watching from the tree line. Neither I nor my sister ever made that trip again, much to the frustration isolation of my family. But there was a silver lining. She and I have never been closer. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what story was your favorite, and let me know if there's any other creepypastas, especially Christmas themed ones, that you find particularly scary. I'll be sure to check them out. If you do want to subscribe, I'd love to have you here. My normal content is very different to this, but it's always in the horror sphere. I do videos on horror and thriller movies, giving you lots of recommendations and letting you know what is worth your time. So please subscribe if you'd like to come along for the journey. I hope you're having a fantastic festive season, no matter what you believe. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.